Welcome to the Summers County Board of Education special meeting. This is March 2nd, 2021. It is 9 a.m. and the chair calls this meeting to order. Item 1, roll call. Let the minutes reflect that all 5 board members are present in the room at this building. At this time, I'd ask Mr. Brogan to do invocation and pledge of allegiance.
Our Father in heaven, we just want to thank you, Lord, for giving us another day. God, we thank you for your many blessings that you bestow upon us day to day. Lord, we thank you for being with us as we just went through COVID, and thank you that it wasn't any worse than it was. Those others that might be suffering with it, God, we pray that they'd be comforted. Father, we just pray that you'd be with us as we go through this meeting, and we give each item on the agenda the proper amount of attention. Lead, Lord, and help us to make the best decisions for the best of Summers County. Pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 3, approval agenda and adjustments. If nobody has any desired adjustments, the chair moves that this board approve the agenda as presented to us by the superintendent.
I'll second.
Motion on the floor by the chair, second by Mr. Angel, that this board accept and approve the agenda for March 2nd, 2021 as presented to us by the superintendent. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining. 5 votes in affirmative, this agenda for March 2, 2021 was approved. That brings us to item 4, new business. A, approved purchases over $20,000. I think if everyone looks in their packet, you will see a purchase over $20,000 for this date. Matheny box truck 59,362, paid for from CARES or COVID money. Casto Technical, which is the air quality improvement ionization system for Hinton area, Talcott and Summers Middle and High School complex. That was $24,967.52, and that also is paid by CARES COVID money. Mr. Warble?
Basically, the box truck will help us out with our situation with delivering food and any kind of services we need, and that does fit under the CARES Act. The Casto, you had the gentleman here at the last board meeting talk about what they can do, and that's nice that he can say what they can do, but you still have to put in a bid, and their bid came in the best. So with our RFP, Casto was under $25,000, which was good that they can make that happen. That's mainly why we called this special board meeting, so we get this approved, so they could get this done by the end of this month. So the turnaround on this will be pretty quick. They just need to order the parts and then do the work. And from what I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Widows, basically by the end of the month is what they're shooting for?
Yes.
So that'd be a good thing, considering we're going to full capacity in our building. So that's good news for us as we move forward. And I'm glad we have that CARES money to help offset that kind of cost. So those are the 2 items that we have, and that's the main reason to have this special board meeting was because when their bid came in last Friday, that was the cutoff date. They were the lowest, and we can move as quickly as we can now.
They were the lowest significantly.
Yes.
And
Yep.
Are there any questions from any members regarding these purchases over $20,000 being paid for by CARES? Any questions, Mr. Angel, Mr. Broden, go ahead.
Were there any specs to be met? There's just a tremendous amount of money left on the table here.
Yeah.
Make sure we're comparing apples to apples.
Well, I've talked to other school systems that have done this ionization, and when ZMM was here, and I don't want to quote ZMM because that's not fair to them, but talking to the engineers from them, and what's the other one, Rigby? Those 2 gentlemen we talked to, they talked about this ionization and that you would have to add this based on the amount of air that goes through. I'm not going to be able to speak in their terms, but you're talking about amount of air that goes through the school building in a day, where you would have to put the ionization connected at different points of the building to meet the requirements to ionization process to make sure the air would be clean at about 90% with the circulation coming in and out. So what I was under the impression is that a virus is so small that our filtration systems can't catch it. But with ionization, it makes it connect to a dust particle or something bigger for our filters to catch. And as it keeps circulating the air, it should get up to about 90% of better air quality than what we're getting right now. So it's not just for COVID, it's for, mildew, moisture, I don't want to say mold because we don't have any mold, but it helps prevent all that, not just COVID, but all the above on that laundry list of stuff with ionization. So he's a local guy from Jumping Branch who does this work. I know in neighboring counties, Casto's done some work just like this to meet those specs. So we're not the first county to do it, but we're also not the last. But when we were told this will help out with the whole filtration system, I'm going on base what architects, engineers, and these companies are telling us this should meet the specs. If we need to keep increasing, we will have plenty of COVID money to help with anything else. That's why Jumping Branch now will get a brand new HVAC system put in because they have none at this point in time. So we'll be working on that at the end of this school year into summer to be ready for this fall.
And then my question that I had at the previous meeting for that gentleman, this won't affect the warranty or whatever.
Not
with
to
the
my
new
knowledge, is it?
HVAC system at the high school.
Warranties?
For
The
HVAC.
HVAC system, I just wanted to make sure that more or less we're changing a little bit of something in the HVAC system.
Yeah, no, there's nothing that'll void any warranty or anything we've got, so it doesn't connect in with any of the
As I understand it,
issues.
they place these items in there that discharge ions, and the particles or any bacteria or virus attached to any particles in there, and it gets caught in the filtration system. And so, I think it's just an addition to, and I think, my understanding of it is okay. Mr. Angel?
This is for the Hinton area talk at high school.
Yes.
Do we not want to add board office to that?
Technically, we can't right now.
Okay.
Because we have no children in there. Nothing against adults in this building, but we're looking at the cause and effect with children in the building. Now, if we make the move out of here and we renovate this for children, then we can use COVID money to renovate this whole building. And then, yes, we could do that with the HVAC system.
Okay.
Yep. Kids have to be involved.
Vice President Farley, questions?
I don't have any.
Mr. McBride?
No.
Then on item 4, new business, we're looking at item 4A, 4C, and 4D. And since they're all joined together, the chair moves that we approve the purchases of the Matheny box truck and the Casto Technical.
I'll second.
Pardon?
I'll second.
Okay. Motion on the floor of the chair, seconded by Mr. Brogan, that this board approve the purchases over $20,000 brought to us by the superintendent and the CSBO on the Matheny box truck and the Casto Technical ionization upgrade for our HVAC. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstaining. 5 votes in the affirmative to approve items 4, A, C, and B as previously read.
A, C, and D.
A, C, and D, yes.
Yes.
Sorry. That brings us to new business item 4B, discussion and/or action concerning a school resource officer in the middle high school. Superintendent Wardle.
Like you guys asked at the last board meeting for more discussion and asking more questions of the sheriff's department. The sheriff said he couldn't be here today, so he sent his deputy to talk to you all about their idea of the school resource officer. I can tell you from our point of view, we would sure like to have one, because when the state came in and did a review of our county the junior, senior high had some discipline issues that need to be addressed, and we're addressing those with PBIS, and then also looking at community and schools, but also we could bring in a school resource officer, and we would use Title IV money. I'll have the deputy talk to you guys about it, answer any of your questions, and then Ms. Jones also can answer any questions on the funding source. But one thing that was asked of us is, can you do this for 4 to 5 years? And I don't think that that's a request that's out of the ordinary. You need to make sure someone who applies for the job knows there's going to be a job here for a while to work in the schools and to get that training and work with students. So I'll turn it over to you, and then, you know, if they have any questions, feel free to answer those.
My name's Tim Atkins. Some of you may know me. I'm the Chief Deputy of the Summers County Sheriff's Office. Like Mr. Warble said, kind of start things off, we have requested some kind of a commitment for a period of 4 to 5 years for our new hire for that position. Just to give kind of a security for the officer that will take that position, because we don't know if something happens, can we retain that employee, so on and so forth. Other than that, I think everything else is pretty self-explanatory. The presence of a police officer in the schools will mitigate discipline issues, response time that we can get down there to handle certain incidents, as well as the officer building a rapport with the students, getting to know the students, and possibly increasing the overall behavior of the students down there. I think it is a very, very good thing to have, in my opinion. If you guys have any questions, you can feel free to ask me.
Officer Atkins, are you have any knowledge or understanding about the specialized training that a school resource officer candidate would get or receive before we entered into agreement?
Sure. Right now, we're talking about the training that we will require for that position. Obviously, we'll find the best candidate for the job just based on merit. As of right now, we can obviously get that training after we hire them, but we want them to be trained in how to deal with juveniles the best way too, because you're not dealing with an adult. It's a completely different ball game when you're dealing with a child. So we want them to be trained the best way that they can to deal with certain incidents and things like that. You know, Child Protective Services training that they put on, ways to talk to children, and like I said before, build a rapport with them. Those are all things that we value for that position, and that will, you know, be included in that training that we require for that position.
Well, certainly there would be a lot of training, a lot of skills that a person like this would need to possess. And one of the most important ones, and you touched on it, would be that it's a person who enjoys and likes kids and wants to work with kids. And it's not necessarily a situation where they're there looking to catch someone.
Sure.
It's a situation to build relationships, help prevent issues, and get a positive relationship going between students and law enforcement. So that would be our
Yeah, and that is our prime.
That would be prime at the top of the list for us.
That's our primary goal. We don't want a presence of authority per se. We want somebody to reduce that attitude. You know, somebody to be there to maybe change the minds of the kids that exist to kind of prevent any future problems. You know, and if something happens, obviously we're there to deal with that, but we want to try to mitigate that before it happens. That's our idea of having a presence down there.
Very good. Any members have any questions they'd like to ask of Officer Atkins?
If we approve this, when you go to hire, can we have the superintendent and the principal sit in on that hiring and have a little say in it, maybe not the final say?
Absolutely. Wouldn't be an issue with that at all. Actually, I encourage that.
The scheduling, am I to assume that it would be basically the same scheduling as other staff members of the high school?
Yes.
With the exception of during the summer months, he would be integrated into the sheriff's program, or
Yes.
sheriff's department?
During the summer months, the SRO, the school resource officer, would be transferred to normal duties. They would be doing normal patrols, things of that nature. And we also wanted them to be involved in the schooling programs in the summertime. For example, Energy Express, I think it would be something good for them to get involved in that. the other school programs that are available in the summer, to have them involved in that, I think would be very good.
So like Thanksgiving breaks, Christmas breaks, spring breaks, would they be off during those times?
For those
or-
holidays, yes.
Okay.
But for snow days, they'll be transferred to the road for that day. So if it's a Monday, there's no particular holiday that day, and there's a snow day, then they would either work the road or the office or whatever.
But they could also do this too, to piggyback off of Mr. Atkins here is, let's say we need to go out and make some parent calls. Maybe there's some truancy issues. Maybe that day, since we know they're gonna be home because of it, that would be a good time to go just travel to the houses and do a wellness check. You could do that. The only thing I haven't tried to negotiate with you is we're still trying to find a driver's ed. Could you guys help out with that?
You can give me a concrete answer today, and
I'm just-
I'll get you an answer.
Yeah, we're having a hard time with that one, but no, I'm just messing with you on that one. But
Mr. Atkins, did I teach you to drive?
No, sir.
Okay.
That's
Miss-
good.
Miss Boone.
I learned at Princeton Motor Speedway.
Oh, okay, all right.
the other thing we did talk about that I want you guys to understand is my experience working with the SRO, and Mr. Atkins can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but when we had the conversation, the initial one was, you know, maybe our officers pull in a group of kids at a time to tell them about cell phone usage, what's appropriate and not appropriate, things that they see out there on the streets to help prevent the kids from going down that rabbit hole, if you will. So we're trying to educate the students so we don't have to incarcerate them later. And if these gentlemen or ladies, whoever works in our system with us, they can go in and educate them on the happenings that they don't want to see happen with them as they get a little bit older with the influences of the world, if you will. And so what we talked about was, you know, it's nice to sometimes pull kids aside with the age appropriateness of maybe just the female audience with the counselor and the male audience with the counselor and the sheriff's department, and talk about questions that come up with sexting or inappropriate material on your cell phone, which then can get you in a lot of trouble for the stuff that's on your phone. Because let's be honest, kids bring cell phones to school. You take a picture or video of someone and it goes out there, it might not be on school time, but if the deputies are on your doorstep, it could get you in some trouble with that. So I like the preventative maintenance and not trying to, you know, get people in trouble, because the job of an SRO is preventative, not trying to put people behind bars. That's not even close to the philosophy of it. It's just being preventative. And I even like how they talked about maybe wearing outfits like this in school, where it's not so much, you know, all in the outfit like Sheriff Ferris said last week, where maybe we start wearing polo shirts or more approachable for our kids to see us with them. So it's like a big brother, big sister program where I'm here for you. I'm not here to put you in a position that's going to get you in trouble. Does that kind of make sense what we talked about?
Absolutely.
You can correct me if I'm wrong. on that.
Absolutely. Perfect sense.
Anyone else, Mr. McBride, got any questions?
I have one question for Mr. Warwell. Will this person be a Summers County Board employee, and will it affect our other personnel as far as student numbers and?
No. This is,
Be simply a contract basis.
yeah, it's kind of like contracting out a service for something else. This would be, yes, they would be with our employees on our same schedule, but you know, like if there is like Christmas break, they might not get the whole Christmas break because sheriff's department might want them out on the streets during.
Yeah, that's
You
something.
know,
we can
that's all the negotiated. That's not a big issue. We just would like them for the 9 months, and then Miss Jones has title money that you guys might need to hear about as well.
I think it's a great idea, though.
Mr. Warble, if I could share, about the budget. When we did the work session, I went over the federal budget updates. 1,000 carryover from last year's money. We haven't spent this year's money. So I just wanted to let you know that the funding that we have from the federal government has guidelines and timeframes that you have to use that money or it gets sent back. So we are sitting in a good position with our Title IV budget to help fund this position.
and usually title money has to be spent, their fiscal year is September-ish, right? And so our school calendar is, you know, July 1 to June 30th. So everybody has a different calendar date on fiscally spending money. And with the federal government, the title money, that has to be spent by September. So it's a little bit different calendar year.
Does that have to be spent or encumbered?
It has to be, encumbered, I think, in September and spent out by.
And
Okay.
completely liquidated.
If we do this.
It needs to be
let's say-
liquidated though
Okay.
by the end of that month.
If we do this, would it be on a monthly basis as far as the payments go, or is it a lump sum upfront payment?
The way that that sheriff, or that Ferris talked about was that we would write one check to the county. I, however, would like to see either 4 quarterly payments, so then we can calculate our overtime, or, even, you know, half at the beginning of, or half at the beginning of the year, maybe half middle of the year, something like that, and then at the end of the year, we can calculate overtime and, you know, figure out. I prefer not to make one lump sum payment.
I do too.
I think
And not-
Yeah, it does. I don't think that'll be an issue there, yeah. I honestly think that that's the better way, either quarterly or half and half, just because, it just keeps everybody on the same wavelength, let's put it that way. Cause when you just turn over a lump sum of money, I don't care what program you put it to, it just makes you feel like you lost control. I hate to say it that way, but let's be honest. I have to report to you all as a board, and there's checks and balances, just like Sheriff Ferris does too, so I don't think that'll be the issue. And as far as the interview process, if they need us on there, they need 1 or 2 of us, we'll make sure we have someone. I would recommend, probably, one of our, principals, and then maybe even a staff member, just to see how that process works, so they can bring them in and work with them.
That or a guidance counselor?
Yeah, somebody like that, I agree with you. We'll figure that out, but definitely the principal.
Superintendent Warble, are there other expenditures under Title IV that could be hurt or lessened in competition with this expenditure for SRO? Could you comment on that so we would know?
I'll let Ms. Jones talk to that one a little bit more, because she knows more of the ins and outs. I know enough to tell you that a certain portion has to be the protection or safety of our students. But another portion, I'll let her talk to you about that one.
The Title IV guidelines is at least 20% of your grant has to be put toward, education, dual credit, AP classes, adding courses into the school. And I've set back money for that the few years that I've been here, and we haven't used up all of that money that I've budgeted. And then at least 20% of the grant amount has to go to student well-being and student safety, which that's where your CSR would go. And then the last, guideline is that you may, it doesn't say that you have to, you may set some aside for technology. So really, the main, guidelines that you do have to follow is at least 20% to, courses, AP, dual credit, things like that, and then at least 20% to the safety of students.
And how much was last year's total?
The total allotment?
Well, we have about 25,000 left over from last year, and then we still have the full grant this year.
Which is how much?
Is it
In the 70s,
70s?
and next year should be in the 80s, low 80s.
Forgive me if this has already been asked. You know, I was on the phone last time, and so I couldn't hear a whole lot of what was going on. Who's responsible for benefits?
The fixed cost and stuff,
Yes.
that's the county.
It's worked into our total of what we're looking at. So that 40,000 would include wages and our percentage of the fixed cost for those 9 months.
And we would cover the cost for the summer months as well as the benefits for that officer.
Will it be open to anybody currently on staff?
We can. The process has not begun for the actual candidate for that position. We anticipate that the vetting process for that will be a long one. So if someone on staff requests that position, and they do fit the bill, then it is potential that will happen. And then the responsibility will be ours to replace his position on the road. We wish to hire someone that is not currently employed at the sheriff's office, just because logistically it will be easier. But if it does come to that point, you know, we'll handle that part.
They will have to be a certified officer.
Yeah.
The only question I haven't asked you guys, and don't feel like you have to answer it, but if you guys would have a K-9 with that deputy, is that a possibility maybe in the future? Not that I wanna pay for 2 deputies, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
But sometimes having a dog in the school is just nice for, I'm not saying looking for drugs or anything, just 'cause some kids like to pet a dog or
Right.
feel, I'm just throwing that out there, you don't have to, it's a loaded question.
So, I mean, just to kind of touch on it, I used to be a canine handler.
Okay.
For the sheriff's department, and we would go down every 3 months to search the lockers. That was about the extent of our involvement
Okay.
with the canine. My dog was a Dutch Shepherd. She was a very nice Dutch Shepherd, but most Dutch Shepherds are not very nice. And as far as Belgian Malinois, German Shepherds, so on and so forth. So if we were to do that, we would have to bring in a dog with a temperament that is very calm, a bloodhound or something like that, because when you start to give your kids the ability to come and approach your dog and pet it, that opens up
I got you.
a huge liability issue. So, I mean, that's something that we can discuss later on.
No, I understand, cause we have to have dogs that, or if we have dogs come in and sit and read to kids, I know it sounds funny, but kids that sit and read to a dog, the studies show that they feel more comfortable
Really?
because they're not being judged.
Okay.
It's how and I'm just looking at it as a situation where, let's be honest, I like dogs probably more than, well, I don't wanna put that on record, but anyway, I'm just saying I like dogs, and, I just thought it'd be kinda cool to have a dog in the school a little bit, but I agree with you, cause I've heard that too, bloodhounds are more the temperament and the labs,
Yeah.
and then German Shepherds, it depends on, like you're talking.
They can bite.
But I gotta pass it all on you.
No, they bark too much.
There's nothing says you can't have 2 dogs, one of them is not a drug dog, and it can be a collie you bring in, or kids won't know the difference, and we'll still get the current value if somebody pets it.
Yeah.
Just throwing that out
So
there.
for
You
example,
deputize it.
the city has a dog right now.
Okay.
A canine dog right now. It's a Belgian Malinois. If it were to go in that school, the hallways would have to be completely bone dry, not a student one in the hallways, just because there is a huge liability
Yeah.
for dogs such as that to bite. But like I said, in the future, you know, if that's something that you wanna talk to the sheriff about, I'm sure that
Yeah.
that we can figure something out.
Would you anticipate that a resource officer that you all would engage with would be open to, working football and basketball games, particularly those where we expect you?
That's a requirement. That'll be a requirement.
And is that an overtime payment requirement?
That's my understanding, talking with the sheriff. That's why we are supposed to try to, project about 40 to 46,000 for this person, because 40-ish will be the salary, the 6-ish would be overtime. Is that basically what you guys correct me from, you're over there too, but somewhere around there. It would be nice to have our county to, be there, just for the fact that they're a known entity. The kids already know them at the game, so why not have that relationship? Because if the kids are calm enough, I don't mind being rowdy at a home game, as long as it's rowdy within the parameters that we agree on, but you know, it's nice to have the sheriff's department there to say, I work with these kids, let me go talk to them, I know this kid. You know, some people just have a special way of talking to certain people when you have those relationships. If it's just anybody that comes, then you really don't have that relationship, and you really don't, let's be honest, when you're a teenager, you don't care as much until they know you care about them. And so that's the key issue that we're trying to do with this SRO program, is to let the kids know we care about you. That's why we have them here, just to help prevent any cause that could happen later in life. And the other thing I really like about it, you know, since 98, 99 with Columbine to now in the future, fast forward to here, there's always that threat that could have somebody be upset, and they take I don't wanna say the law, but they take an idea in their head that they wanna be heard, and they do it in an inappropriate way. It'd be nice to have an SRO on there for the response time, like you said earlier. And when you have a cop car or a deputy car parked out on school premises, that's a huge deterrent right there. So that's what we wanted you guys to hear today. If you have any more questions, please ask. The hard ones go to the deputy. I want the easy ones. So,
Officer Atkins, in your experience, and I know you've worked athletic events at the high school, and there have been times where we need officers on site.
Yes.
Doesn't happen often, but I can tell you, being down there so much, there are times where we need it.
Absolutely.
Currently, and I don't know who pays for it, somebody can tell me, we get 2 or 3 what they call rental cops, and that's probably not a nice thing to say, so I don't mean that in any
No
disrespectful
offense
way.
taken here.
But they're there as security. In your opinion, would the presence of a sheriff's deputy there be adequate to do what needs to be done in lieu of that, those security people? I'm not sure who pays for it, whether it's athletic fund or whether it's board. Somebody could enlighten me on that. So what would be your opinion on that? Would you feel out on a limb by yourself, or what would you think?
In my personal opinion, I believe that the presence of a police officer would be a better deterrence than a couple guys in polos that say security on them. And I'm not, like you said, I'm not trying to disrespect that field or that profession, but you take, for example, somebody leaning on the fence at the football games. The security guards, they go up and they ask, please don't lean on the fence. Oh, okay. As soon as they walk away, they're back on the fence. So, but if a police officer were to come up and say, hey, please don't lean on the fence, it may have more of an effect to that degree. With the SRO being on duty at the football games, we can also bring our on-road deputy down to assist him to be present. City officers will be there as well. The only issue is that we have calls to attend. That's the plus side of having an SRO, because he will be there. Doesn't matter what call comes out, doesn't matter what happens.
He'll stay there.
He'll stay there, unless it's like a bank robbery. But that, that don't happen very often down here, so, that's the plus side of that. He'll always be there, and if a deputy's out on the road and he's not dealing with anything at the time, he can come down and help him. So, it's something that we also kind of kicked around the idea of.
But then I think that answers an important question then, that the other issue may be something that may not be necessary because of this, and this gives us a value-added service. And does anybody know who pays for those security people? Is that the school athletic fund? It is? Okay. Well, that would take some burden off of them, and we would have more professional presence there, and certainly law enforcement would do that. Members, if I'm doing the calculations correct, I believe Ms. Jones said, and Ms. Crook, something around $80,000 for step 4 money is what we get on an annual basis. 20% of that's $16,000, and you have 16 that goes toward safety, 16 that goes toward student instruction. Did you say AP?
It is at least 20%, so if you.
At least 20.
Right.
So you put that together, that's 32. You strike that from 80, then we have money to afford this. So I see this in a very positive light. I'm going to ask again, does anybody else have any further questions before we let
Another thing I wanted to add to maybe kind of support the reason we're doing this, and obviously the presence alone I think is a very beneficial thing, but we also want our SRO to be involved in curriculum, and this is your guys' profession, but a class, maybe a assembly in the auditorium where the police officer could talk about bullying, police officer could talk about sexting, police officer could talk about any real world events that are happening at that time, any problems, and they can do that. That's something we also want them to be involved in. So, I didn't say that earlier, but that's something that I wanted you guys to know, is that the officer will be proactive. That's a requirement. It won't be just somebody walking the halls. We want them to be personable, getting involved with the kids, and like the superintendent said, home visits. If we believe that there's a problem at home, we're gonna go out and check. So, you know, I'm trying to employ to explain to you guys how beneficial I think this can be, and you know, in the future maybe there will be even an opportunity for more than one. That would be at our cost, but you know, I think this is a very good thing for Summers County, in my opinion.
If there's no other questions, we appreciate your time, and your information was very well presented, and that you answered our questions, and I appreciate it, and I know the board does, and as well as the central office, so thank you very much.
The only other question I got, and I think we discussed this at the last meeting, they will also, sometime during the month, go to Jungle Branch and talk in the area. Maybe not for a whole day, but for.
Well, yeah, what we're gonna do is the home base will be the secondary building, but yeah, they can go to the other schools. And then, what we're gonna do, and that we talked about, is giving, Mr. Atkins and Mr. Ferris key fobs. So if they swing by themselves, they can have total access to the building, and they'll just stop by to just say hi or check out the kids, maybe have lunch with them, see them out at recess. They just might swing by just to say hi. So it's just not just one person, it's a county effort, and we wanna make sure they have a key fob each facility so they can enter anytime they want to let the principal know, hey, I'm here, just wanna check out the facility, say hi to kids, maybe check out the cafeteria. You know, it's a good time for them to stop by just to say, how's it going, kids? Cause I know the other thing you guys talked about was a Saturday program for the elementary middle for fire department and the law enforcement, and so they're gonna wanna recruit some kids to say, hey, on a certain Saturday, we might have this little, a day camp, I don't know what you call it, but something like that, right? Isn't that what you guys said, some on Saturdays?
Yeah, just, I guess at a voluntary basis where the kids can come down and just kinda meet everybody.
Yeah.
Stuff like that is received well, in my opinion. Something that I was involved in was when, in the summertime, the Energy Express kids, they would play kickball. And me and the other city officer that worked day shift, we would just stop in and play kickball with them. And that would be something I think that the school resource officer could do.
Yeah.
And the more the kids can meet that one SRO and have a relationship with that one SRO, I know some counties, they recycle shifts. The SRO might be this guy for 2 months, and then it's a different guy for 2 months. And in my opinion, it just doesn't really benefit because they're constantly having to learn new people. And the whole point of an SRO is for them to gain respect and trust of the kids, so they know that if a kid has a problem, they can go to that person and talk to them in confidence, and they'll feel comfortable. So I'm rambling, but you guys get my point.
I know when Officer McMillan was at the state police headquarters, he went down to the high school in Ace and
Yeah.
interacted with kids. And he told me, I think he had 2 daughters. He told me him and his wife and 2 daughters were over in the mall one day. Civilian clothes. He said one of the boys at high school come up and started talking to him and introduced him to his mom and dad.
Yeah.
So it happens, and it's a good thing.
Well, Officer Atkins, you go out today and enjoy the sunshine.
Oh, I'm going to grand jury after this.
All right.
There won't be no sunshine for me.
Yeah.
Well, we have a private little understanding about sunshine, do we not?
Yes, we do.
We'll keep that to the sir staff. All right, thank you so much.
Thanks,
Sir.
sir.
Thank you, Lord.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
Members, I had some thoughts, and it would seem to me at this point in time, we could possibly put forth a motion authorizing the superintendent and his staff to enter into negotiations with the sheriff, bring us back the total proposal or contract, at which time we after looking at it, we could move or not move to act upon it. Any thoughts on my statement?
I don't have a problem with it. Like I say, they can work something out.
Would that work for you, Superintendent Warble, if we just authorize you to go ahead and enter into negotiations and put together I don't know, it's a memorandum of understanding or a contract or whatever, but something that engages both parties and also protects the board on the end if we felt like we had to get out of it?
So are you wanting to approve me working with the sheriff's department to move forward.
To move forward, and then, of course, we would not approve it until you brought it back to us and we got a chance to look at the whole agreement. Is that within reason or not? If not, tell me.
Well, I guess we need to,
Excuse me.
we gotta move forward sooner than later, so I guess what you could do is approve for, Summers County Schools to have, to work with the county sheriff's department to, move forward to hire an SRO, cause I don't know that we need to come back a second time, because if we're doing all the protocol, you wouldn't have to approve again, cause you've already approved the first time saying we're gonna enter into them with an agreement of some sort. You would still have to make you would still have to approve a memorandum of understanding once we got that all done, but I don't know exactly what you're wanting right now for me to say, other than my opinion is, as a professional with the education side of it, is I would like to get this approved today so I can work with the sheriff's department so they can put out a posting so we can get ready for next school year, because that money needs to be allocated towards said program if we're gonna do this.
And I understand what you're saying. Let me ask Mr. Atkins one question. If we put this job out for bid, you get somebody that's not certified, they're gonna have to go through the academy.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen.
Will we be able, you're gonna only put it out for certified?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all on them on that side. All we're doing is basically having this money be encumbered or set aside for the SRO program. That's what our agreement will be. They'll do all the other stuff. Let's say there was an issue with discipline. All we do is say, Mr. Sheriff, here's a problem, or hey, Mr. Sheriff, it's going well. From our point of view, it's kind of an in conjunction, but they would handle the majority of it. We're just handling the financial side of it.
The only thing I was worried about was whether we was gonna have somebody in place by the time school starts next year.
That's why I'd like to get the ball rolling, yeah.
And to also comment on that, the sooner the better, because, you know, when you hire a person, it comes the responsibility to equip the person, and that can sometimes take a while. For example, it takes us 2 months to get a bulletproof vest for somebody, so we wanna have them equipped, fully equipped with the proper safety gear to go in, medical kits, life-saving equipment to go into the school, to have that at hand, ready at all times. So there is a couple month process to get them equipped. So the sooner the better. And also, Mr. Warble, about the, when you stated about, you know, any disciplinary things, any feedback that you guys could give, is it possible that you guys could do like every bi-monthly or every month peer reviews to give us maybe an evaluation of that person? That way we can have that.
Yeah, in my previous life as a SRO, the building principal is responsible for that,
Okay.
or the assistant principal, one of the two. Usually, if you have an assistant, usually assistant deals with discipline, which deals with, you know, that situation, so. But I think good feedback or the other will be warranted either way.
Any feedback is good, because if it's negative, we can address it and fix it. If it's
Yeah.
not, but if it's left in the open, we don't know to address it, then a problem will never be solved. So that's my reasoning for that.
I agree with you.
The chair puts forth a motion that this board approve the authorization of a school resource officer for the middle high school complex, to begin, effective for the upcoming school year.
I'll second.
Motion on the floor with the chair, second by Mr. Angel, that this board approve the resource officer program for the middle high school complex to begin at the beginning of the next school year. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstaining. Mr. Warble, 5 votes in the affirmative, this board has approved the school resource officer program. And we'll certainly look at the negotiation and the final contract, but, and I know we have to come back and say we approve that contract.
Yep.
But, based on all the good information we've got now, 2 times, I think we explored this thoroughly, and, I think we all always felt like it was a good idea, and, now I'm very confident of it. So, having done that, we'll move on to item 4E under new business, discussion and/or action concerning memorandum of understanding between Summers County Schools and Reno Medical Center. Members, if you look in your packet, you will see a handout on the memorandum from Reno Medical Center. Superintendent Warble, is there anything you want to present to us regarding that, and then we'll see if any members have any questions?
No, we enjoy working with Reno Medical. We already have them on site anyway. Basically, we have a situation here where there's a concern with mental wellness that we have going on right now. We have a lot of students that we have not seen, and CPS, if you've seen the numbers, are down, which means not that that's a good sign. That just means our kids have not been identified as having some problems at home. Again, this is nobody's fault, but this is what's going on, and they're doing a grant to try to secure this kind of stuff, so they have to have a memorandum of understanding with our county to move forward with that grant. So it's just mental wellness for our students here in the county. It's basically what it is.
I make a motion that we approve the memorandum of understanding between Summers County Schools and Reno Medical Center.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor by Vice President Farley, seconded by Mr. McBride, that this board approve the memorandum of understanding between Summers County Schools and Reno Medical Center. Is there any discussion? If not, then all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstaining. 5 votes in the affirmative, Superintendent Warble, to approve this memorandum of understanding between Summers County Schools and Reno Medical Center. That brings us to item 5, personnel matter for fiscal year 2021-2022. The chair would move, subject to 6-9A-4, that this board go into executive session for discussion of personnel, subject to paragraph 2. There's a motion on the floor.
I'll second.
Motion by the chair, second by by Mr. Angel, that this board, under personnel matter 2021-2022, 6-9A-4, personnel, paragraph 2, that this board go into executive session. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained. This board will now go into executive session. We will return shortly to close out the meeting. So at this time, we are in executive